So first of all, I have to thank my subscribers since we already hit 300 subscribers. It really means a lot to me, so thank you. I wanted to do something special to celebrate, but I'm not quite sure yet what to do. So if you have any ideas, I would appreciate a comment. This week we're going to take a look at Chuu's Heart Attack MV, but before this we should take a quick look at the MV for the Carol 2.0. The Carol 2.0 has red borders, which is unique to this MV. The MV has the 1/3 logo with the white background and the yellow moon, so maybe this could mean that this takes place on Earth. So Bibi and Yves are opposites in the Loonaverse, and Cherry has a connection to Yves and the other Eden girls. And both Bibi and Cherry appeared in the new MV. So in this MV they bring all of the 3 subunits together. Also, Yves is wearing green, which is Haseul's color, and Bibi is wearing coral, which is Chuu's color. This could be really interesting because the 2 of them meet in Chuu's MV, which plays out before the original The Carol. Could it be that these 3 planned out the meeting of the 1/3 and YYYY members? Interestingly enough, the outlines on this MV are red. While Yves has a dark red color assigned to her, this color looks more like Kimlip's color. This could mean that this MV shows events which are heavily connected to Kimlip's powers, or in my opinion heavily connected to Middle-earth, the bridge that was created by Kimlip. The description says, the Carol 2.0 is performed by Vivi from Loona 1/3, Cherry from Loona ABCs, and Yves who escaped from Eden, to create a transverse unit named YYXY in order to welcome the holiday season along with the fans of Loona. This of course could be a cute, cheeky description, but I do feel like the choice of words and of members has a deeper meaning that is underlined by the description. So Yves is forming a unit that for the first time in the Loonaverse connects all of the 3 subunits. And this MV was released after Yves' new MV, in which we see Yves travel through realms and meet up with both Bibi and Cherry. So couldn't it be possible that this MV shows us that these 3 are now working together? My theory on this is that Yves has to change the YYY members' minds on Eden and help them to open their eyes to the horrors of Eden. Then the Odd Eye Circle members are needed to help the YYY members to enter Middle-earth and to traverse it. And finally, the 1/3 members take them to Earth and act as their guides in this new unfamiliar place. Just like Bibi needed the help of the members to come to terms with her new existence on Earth, the YYY members need an anchor that keeps them safe and sound on Earth as well. Just like the Carol 1.0 was important to establish the relationships between Heejin, Hyunjin, and Haseul, the Carol 2.0 lets us know that these members have important relationships as well. Now let's get to the Heart Attack MV. Since I already covered the fairy tale theory in one of my most recent videos, I will not cover it here. But I do highly advise you to watch the theory video after this video to get the full picture. I will also make another video analyzing the references to famous artists and painters that were used in Chuu's MV to enhance the story of the MV. So this MV has no borders. This does indicate a connection to the 1/3 subunit, since they mostly have the borderless MVs. We see the new YYY intro with the peach moon going from right to left. The fact that there are no borders is kind of interesting, since this would indicate that this takes place on Earth, but we know that Chuu is in Eden, so does this just mean that she is on Earth for the ending of the MV? I don't quite have an answer for this, but I did notice that Yeojin and Chuu both have borderless MVs, while they presumably both take place in Eden. They both act kind of childlike and have similar themes in their MVs. They kind of mirror each other. I mean, Yeojin imagines Eden to be a bright and happy place, and Chuu imagines it to look like a high school setting, straight out of a romance movie. Which is also interesting, since Yeojin says in her MV that she is unlike a character in one of these romance movies. So both of them have rose-colored glasses and see Eden as a bright and fun place. Their MVs having no borders could indicate that while they are in Eden, they actually don't see it that way. They both act in a way that they are on Earth, just living normal teenage lives. But a big difference in the MVs is their outlooks on love. While Yeojin is too young to reciprocate the feelings of love the frog has for her, Chuu is fallen deeply in love and wants her love to be reciprocated by Yves. And I do feel like love in this case can be a metaphor for sinning, since you can only exit Eden by sinning and eating the forbidden fruit. So while Yeojin isn't ready yet and gets pressured into it, kind of like Gowon, Chuu pressures Yves into sinning with her and would do anything for her, but Yves doesn't reciprocate her feelings. Maybe because just like Yeojin, Chuu isn't ready yet. And unlike they did with Yeojin, Yves doesn't want to pressure Chuu to exit. Yves waits for Chuu to truly open her eyes to the horrors of Eden and for her to want to exit Eden herself. Otherwise, she would be unable to truly exit Eden and leave her old self behind. I feel like these similarities explain why Yves is ignoring Chuu in this MV. Yves and probably also Cherry pressuring Yeojin to exit Eden and being utterly unable to do so, since she has yet to open her eyes to the true horrors of Eden, is kind of like a warning sign to them not to repeat their mistakes with Chuu. So let's take a look at the MV itself. You can see a clock that is showing 10 o'clock. Chuu is the 10th member of Loona. It is interesting how the MV starts off with Chuu opening the curtains, revealing herself. It feels kind of like she is doing a stage play, so in a way it is similar to Yeojin's MV that starts off with a theatrical opening as well. And it also lets us know that, just like Yeojin, Chuu is not a reliable narrator. Also, plushies around her neck, a penguin for Chuu and a swan for Yves. This is the wooden ground we see in Yves' new MV. Also, the fact that Yves has black stockings and Chuu has white stockings could be a metaphor for Chuu being still pure in the eyes of Eden. While Yves is a sinner, having eaten her forbidden fruit and exited Eden. This black and white thinking of Eden is also underlined by their outfits, generally being just in black and white. And of course, Chuu is following Yves' footsteps like she wants to copy her. Now this is kind of interesting. Chuu is acting like a stalker, taking photos of Yves without her knowing. This to me feels more like a metaphor for Chuu observing Yves and looking at her every move, like we see in the Love4eva MV, since Chuu wants to copy her. She also wears an orange shirt, orange being the color of Yeojin, and has a green apple in her hand. We see Yves and Chuu in their uniforms, and while to us orbits that have the full picture already, this is nothing special. But it was special to the orbits at the time the MV was released. You get to see Yves in this uniform in the new MV and think to yourself, well, she just wears a uniform. But now that we see them in the school bus together, both wearing these uniforms, the MV lets us know that these girls are in some type of school together, and since they are wearing uniforms, it probably is a strict school. The book Yves is reading is Aphrodite Means Death. So I saw an old Reddit post where someone explains that this book is the Penguin number 1009 version. Yves is the number 9 and Chuu has the number 10. The author is called John Appleby. Apples are a connection to Yves, since they are her assigned fruit, and the book is published by Penguin Books, and penguins are Chuu's assigned animal. The book has the number 1009, which is half of 2018, which is the year of Loona's debut. So Aphrodite is the goddess of beauty and love, and is connected to the swan, as well as apples and roses. All of these symbols are also associated with Eden, and especially the swan and the apples are associated with Yves. Aphrodite is a Greek goddess, and there's a story in which all of the Greek gods are invited to a wedding, except Ares, the goddess of strife and discord. She felt insulted, and so she starts a fight between gods by throwing a golden apple to them that has written on it for the most beautiful. Now Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite are fighting about who actually deserves this apple. Zeus places the judgment in the hands of the young Paris, the beautiful but rejected son of the Trojan king. To win the fight, each of the goddesses try to bribe Paris and offer him a prize, while the other offer him power. Ultimately, Aphrodite wins by offering Paris the love of the most beautiful woman in the world. However, the most beautiful woman is Helen, and she was already married to the king of Sparta. So Aphrodite steals Helen, and it is said to have been the trigger for the Trojan War. So Aphrodite is maybe a little too confident in herself, and she is a schemer just like Yves. I feel like this connection of Yves and Aphrodite is really important to the story the MVs are trying to tell us. Well, but what is the story of the book actually about? It's a lot, but I'm only mentioning the most important parts. First of all, it is pretty difficult to analyze the book's inclusion into the MV, since there isn't really much you can find about the book. But from what I was able to gather, the story is about how collaborators of ex-German soldiers from World War II try to hide and cover up their past misdeeds to ensure a good future for themselves. Since they thought that Germany is going to win, the collaborators didn't really hide their connections to Germany, and now they have to make the evidence disappear. And the protagonist really doesn't know who they can trust and who actually is just covering up their bad side. Also in the story, we get to know about the statue of Aphrodite, and the statue has no arms, but it is theorized that she would have been holding an apple in one of her hands. Also, we can see Yves posing with the statue's head in the teaser images. The title of the book could suggest that Aphrodite is dangerous and is bringing death. And Yves as well, since she is compared to Aphrodite, but the book isn't really about Aphrodite and her being bad. It is more so a reference to one of the characters in the book that knows a lot about Aphrodite, and presumably about the ex-World War II soldiers as well, and dies mysteriously one day because he knows too much. The knowledge of Aphrodite killed him, figuratively. And while this is really surface level, I think it does inform us about some things. First of all, that Yves reads something that might be seen as controversial to the oppressive leaders of Eden that the girls have to obey. Second of all, that Yves maybe takes away from this book much of her knowledge to mistrust Eden, since in a way they also try to cover up their misdeeds. Thirdly, that knowing too much can be detrimental to you, so you should hide your actual knowledge or else you're going to end up being covered up as well. And lastly, that much like Aphrodite, Yves is so beautiful that she can use this power to get what she wants. Chuu admires her, and maybe this gives Yves the confidence to think that she can save all of the YYY members on her own. But if you know anything about this story, please write a comment, because this is such a confusing part of the MV for me. So, Yves has only eyes for her book, for her rebellion, for her plans to exit Eden and in a way destroy it. And Chuu has only eyes for Yves. She wants to be close to her, but does seem intimidated by her. I also feel like the apple might be a symbol for Chuu's love towards Yves. Even though it is unreciprocated love, her love towards Chuu grows and grows, so the apple is growing throughout the MV as well. We can see Chuu multiple times in the MV looking at Yves from a distance, just like she is obsessed with her, but at the same time too timid to come closer to her. Remember how Aphrodite brings death? Well, but in all honesty, I feel like this is more so a reference to Cupid, or the Greek god Eros, who is also the son of Aphrodite, so yeah. Also notice how Chuu holds an apple in front of her heart. This is another hint at the fact that Chuu's love is symbolized by her green apples. But she still can't help her feelings, and she tries again and again, but ultimately fails to leave any impression. In the following montage, we can see Chuu trying to be more like Yves and copying her. But instead of red apples, she has green apples. Not only is green Haseul's color, but to me it seems like no matter what Chuu tries to do, she can never be Yves. She can never bloom into a red apple by copying her. Yves does these things as a sign of rebellion. She wants to break out of her shell and be free, but Chuu kind of does the opposite. In Eden, she learns to copy the behavior of others and to not stick out. When she sees Yves and falls for her, she thinks that it is not because Yves is being her true self, but because of the things she does. So she copies the things she does because this is the only thing Yves has ever known. She struggles with being her own person, and even when she wants to break out of her shell, she tries to do this by copying somebody else again. Now following this are some fast scenes. Chuu looking shocked and an apple falling out of her hand. On the ground, a bag with even more apples. The clock from before now saying that it is 25 minutes past 5 o'clock. Well, I don't really know what this is supposed to tell us. I thought about it, and the fifth member of Loona is Kimlip, right? And what does Kimlip do? She creates an eclipse, and through this she forms Middle-earth. Only after Kimlip forms Middle-earth, to be a bridge between Earth and Eden, is Yves able to travel through the realms freely. I believe that this far she has only been able to watch other realms, kind of like leaving your body behind and being a ghost on Earth. And this is what leads to Bibi losing her body and becoming an android on Earth. Since she left Eden before the bridge was built properly, her soul got separated from her body. Kind of like Brook from One Piece. Brook was first shown in One Piece in 2007, and manhwa have featured in the Loonaverse. So Jaden Jong, a One Piece fan, confirmed. So Chuu is so shocked that she even drops her apple because she witnessed Yves travel through realms for the first time. She took all of these apples to copy her since she wanted to follow her, not knowing that it wasn't the apple itself that made Yves travel, but Yves' spiritual connection to the apples. So this is kind of like a flashback to the time when Yves first traveled realms. And after this we see Chuu with a cake that has maybe 12 strawberries on it, kind of hinting at the fact that Loona are 12 members and that these are Chuu's special assigned fruit. But I do really wonder what these candles are supposed to tell us. There are 9 candles. Chuu is the number 10. So are these supposed to be stand-ins for the members? And if that's so, then why is there 1 green candle for Haseul, 1 blue candle for Jinsel, and then 4 yellow candles? Or are these colors unrelated to the members and it is 3 odd circle members for 1/3 members and then 2 odd ones out? Like Yeojin and Yves are able to travel through realms. Is that what makes them different? I don't know. A purple outfit with yellow stockings, and the background is green and peach, which are Cherry, Hyunjin, Haseul, and Chuu's assigned colors. And notice the bar for ballet in the background that was featured in Yves' new MV. We again can see a clock. This time it is maybe 10 minutes past 6 o'clock, so time is definitely progressing. And maybe this is supposed to let us know when these events take place in the timeline. I also think that this shows us that these events do not take place all at the same time. Like Chuu was watching her, and when she had enough confidence, she started copying her, and at the end she tries to confess her love to Yves. It seems quite unrealistic that these events would all take place in one day, so this makes sense. This is also underlined by the different outfits. There are 5 copies of the Aphrodite Means Death book. I don't know why specifically 5 copies, but yeah. Also, this building is in the blank void space, seen over and over again in the Loonaverse. That I think is a representation of Middle-earth. And since Middle-earth is formed by its inhabitants, Yves has created her own little home here. Even though Yves seems to at least like Chuu, she most of the times in the MV is ignoring her. And I feel like Chuu's innocence could be the problem here. And even when Chuu tries to get Yves' attention by copying her, she doesn't even notice her. Maybe she doesn't want her to be obsessed with her and for her to find her own way instead of copying somebody else. In a way to act less like a little sister or child, but instead like a grown-up that follows their own way. It seems like it doesn't really matter how big the apple is Chuu gives to Yves. And the apple being a symbol for Chuu's love means that it doesn't really matter how much Chuu loves Yves, Yves just keeps ignoring her. Which then makes Chuu's confessions and feelings even stronger. Also, Chuu is wearing white pearl earrings, and guess which goddess pearls are associated with? It is Aphrodite. In Greek mythology, pearls are said to be the tears of joy of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. They are a symbol for innocence, beauty, sincerity, and spiritual transformation. Plus, the round shape of pearls is often linked to the moon, which is believed to have a feminine energy and is associated with nurturing and motherhood. But I have to say the association of motherhood and a nurturing, caring person kind of sounds like Haseul, the mirror of Chuu. So does Chuu become more like Haseul in this MV? More like a grown-up? I don't know. Now we can see a sad and heartbroken Chuu when she shows her anger towards Yves by hitting her swan plush, and then she even kicks her apple. In a way, hating herself for feeling so much love for a person that couldn't care less. This realization makes her apple smaller again. The instant Chuu is fed up enough with the situation, she feels the opposite of love. Yeah, you could say the opposite of love is hate, but I would say it is indifference. In this MV, Yves is the opposite of Chuu. Chuu is obsessed and filled with love, and Yves couldn't care less. In a way, Yves demonstrates to Chuu what she has to do, that Chuu has to be indifferent as well, that she has to take her love and give it to someone else. In this case, for Chuu to love herself instead of loving somebody else. And if we believe that the apple might be a symbol for Chuu's love, then Chuu sitting fed up in the snow and biting into the green apple herself could indicate that Yves' plan worked out, that Chuu is biting into the apple, so starting to love herself. In a way, Chuu decides that giving her love to somebody else that doesn't care is useless. She becomes indifferent to Yves and decides to love herself instead of another person. She becomes her true self since copying Yves didn't work out. She decides to bite into her green apple instead of wanting to be a red apple like Yves, and then her apple turns red and she probably faints. She made the decision to be herself, which to Eden is forbidden. This is then symbolized by her partaking in the fruit, sinning and traveling through realms. She does the most forbidden thing by opening her eyes and exiting Eden. So technically she becomes like Eve after giving up her dream of wanting to be like Eve, and her apple turning red is a symbol for that. She now is technically becoming more like Eve, even though she isn't trying anymore. And Chuu traveling through realms and exiting Eden is also symbolized by the scene later on where Eve strikes a strawberry with a golf club, like she did in her MV with an apple, to symbolize Chuu traveling through realms via these strawberries. In her dreams now Chuu spends time with Eve, but more so as mutuals and equals instead of Eve being put on a pedestal by Chuu. And this newfound freedom is also symbolized by the feathers that are flying through the air. They also symbolize trust and wisdom, so yeah. After this we see Chuu eating her assigned fruit multiple times. And strawberries are a symbol for modesty and purity, but also for sensuality and fertility. I feel like the eating of the forbidden fruit could also be a metaphor for doing something sensual with someone else. Kind of like the yogurt scene in Yves' MV. That could be interpreted in a similar manner. After she eats the green apple and faints, she wakes up in Middle-earth, with the apple not actually having turned red, like Chuu saw in her dreams. Now she is awoken by Haseul, who is wearing her the Carol outfit. What is also weird is the fact that Chuu does not look at Haseul or interact with her, like she can't even see her. Maybe this lets us know that while Chuu is on the right track of loving herself and getting over Eve, she is not yet there. She has yet to eat her assigned fruit and hasn't opened her eyes fully yet. Also, notice how you can hear the carol playing in the background? I feel like Haseul was sent by Eve to take Chuu to Earth, but Chuu not even being able to see Haseul lets her know that she is not quite ready yet. So she leaves her alone, knowing that when the time's right, she will be there to help Chuu. In a way, Chuu can still only think about Eve, and even though in her dreams she became independent like Eve because she was being her true self, after she wakes up things are a little different. Unlike in her dreams, in real life, she has yet to understand the lesson and goes back to looking for Eve. It's like with the little match girl that sees beautiful things in her dreams, just for her to wake up and nothing has changed. She is still freezing outside. I will put the Chuu fairy tale theory on the screen for you, so you can get straight to the theory. So yeah, thanks for watching, as always, and if you liked the video you can like and subscribe. So see you next week.